We are 97.5 The Rock. It's time for Pedal to the Metal Wednesday. Good evening. It's right at 7 o'clock. I'm Moose along with Tim Herbst. Hello, Tim.
Well, you slid in there tonight, but you were still on time. Looking good tonight.
I had 30 minutes to spare there, didn't I?
Yeah,
Well,
all right.
Last week was a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, we had fun with it, so.
Yes, and of course, thanks to Scott for coming in from Highland Speedway and hanging out. And unfortunately, 97.5 The Rock night was washed away. And you guys got a lot more rain than I did. I mean, I live 35 minutes from here.
Right.
About an hour.
Southeast.
Just a tick southeast.
Yeah, I was watching the radar. It just came across and came up through Clinton County and caught that corner of Madison County, and we were done for. But it had been raining most of the day. It was just a nice soaker, and with a little bit of sunshine we saw prior in the week, it just wasn't enough to get the track in shape. So, and
the groundwater table is still pretty darn high. So any rain that we get now it's just going to settle around for a while. Now, at least we had some good wind. We had some sunshine yesterday, so that's going to help leach out a lot of the water that's been out there. And of course, Mother Nature is calling for some rain. Looks like it's going to come in mainly late tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and possibly even through Friday. And that doesn't bode well for everybody involved, but we are going to act like it's still game on until we are otherwise notified, and that's
that's the only thing we do. I was talking to Scott earlier today, Scott Kuhn from the Highland Speedway, and I said, really, we're looking for guests for tonight. We ought to just call Dave Murray. Dave
Murray, and ask him.
He seems to be the guy that's in control of what's going on with our racing around here, because we definitely can't seem to catch a break. But,
no.
It's been nasty. The last 3 days have been beautiful. We can't do something about that. Monday I was on with Doug Jenkins on his program. I co-track announcer at Highland Speedway. He has a little racing show on their AM station up there at Alton, Illinois. And I just told him maybe we ought to just start scheduling races on nice days and just let everybody take off a day from work.
That's it. Yeah, I'm sure you would get the stands would probably be packed.
Yeah.
As it were, people. I mean, we got a little taste of spring, and see, this is the thing. This is normally growing up.
Right.
This is what we've contended with. Usually it is not into the 80s in March. Usually it's a cold March and a cool April. And mid-May, you can finally say, okay, we can crank out the shorts and probably keep them out for a while. And, of course, around Memorial Day, it may sap you with 30-degree weather, which I can remember going to the Indianapolis 500 in a parka.
Oh, I believe that.
So, that said, this is more seasonable type Midwest weather now. And then, of course, whenever we hit the end of June, July, we're going to be bitching because it's so hot.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the temperatures as much as it's the roller coaster ride we'd had as far as the rain goes. And then we don't mind it if the calendar was switched around and it would come through on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Right.
But the Friday-Saturday deal, that Thursday-Friday-Saturday deal, that's what kind of messes everybody up. So that's why it's but what can you do?
Indeed. On the show tonight, Pedal to the Metal Wednesday, of course, Tim and I we'll be talking to Lenny Batycki. He's with C-Max Dragway, Charlotte Motor Speedway, at the track with PRN, Performance Racing Network, and he does some Fox Sports South stuff in racing and around there. So he's got a little TV, a little radio, and, of course, the PA guy. And he knows a lot about racing.
And he doesn't miss a night of racing. If there's racing, and where he lives out there in Charlotte, he's like within an hour of all the cool racetracks, drag strips, big, little, small. I mean, he's right there. He works at ZMAX.
Living the dream, baby.
Yeah, we went through that last week. We all got jealous about that. But we'll get over it.
And then we're going to be talking to Kevin Gundaker. They have some big shenanigans going on Friday at Pontoon Beach at Tri-City Speedway. The Lucas Oil Late Model Series invade Tri-City Speedway. And, of course, that is a bad, fast track, and those guys put on a hell of a show there. So he's got those big boys planned for that. And we're going to talk to Scott Kuhn and see if we can get some good weather and get some racing in and see when we're going to do 97.5 The Rock Night at Highland Speedway.
Yeah, hopefully.
Indeed.
You got to schedule again, but who knows?
We'll get her figured out. 97.5 The Rock. It is Pedal to the Metal, listening here live on the air. And you can pick us up online at WDLJ.com. Worldwide, download the app for the smartphones, and bam, you're good to go. We've got the app right there that'll play on your smartphones.
Or if you have a iPhone, you can go to TuneIn Radio. Just plug in WDLJ.
And from what I gather, I've talked to some iPhone, and I'm not an iPhone dude, but I've talked to some pundits, and they said you can just go right to the web and listen right off the website the way it works on that platform.
Oh, on the TuneIn Radio?
No, I mean just log onto our website via your smartphone.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that, too.
So
a newer one, just antique that I have.
The Droid, yeah. We're talking about iPhones.
iPhones,
yes.
So there you go.
We are not as tech-savvy as we might lead you to believe.
We try.
But we can BS our way through it. 97.5 The Rock, Battle of the Metal Wednesday. Batycki joins us next. Don't wander off. So the Metal Wednesday rolls into the early stages of this race, as we will be here until about 8 o'clock, talking all things motorsports, whether we're talking, we even talk boat races, motocross.
Collector cars.
Collector cars.
Martin Wimbley in here last year with his Cuda, and I hope you're getting back in here again. So,
indeed, the guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, because the Mopar Nationals are coming back to Gateway, so hopefully maybe next week we'll get him in.
Indeed, and of course, joining us on the long line, the voice of the Z-Max Dragway, works a ton of stuff, working the pits at Charlotte Motor Speedway, also at the track with Performance Radio Network. You can check them out, follow them on Twitter, and hear all of their reports. And a partridge in a pear tree. It is Len Batycki joining us from, well, you're at a racetrack, aren't you, buddy?
The palatial Millbridge Speedway, which is run by the Hoffman family from Belleville, Illinois. So I'm almost a local over in Belle Claire again. This track here is just a little bit shorter than even that famous track. And got news that Mike Neff, the announcer here at Millbridge, has worked with National Speed Sport News, and it looks like through Neff's efforts, Nick Hoffman is going to be in National Speed Sport News coming up, so be listening or watching for that in Ralph Shaheen's publication.
Ralph Shaheen really bringing that back from its the ashes of Phoenix Rising with the National Speed Sport News. And that, growing up, Lenny, was the Bible for me and my pop when we were scheduling races and seeing what was going on, and it got us through the doldrums of the winter months as well.
And you know what I think is cool is that he hired back most of the staff that was there at the end as Economaki closed things up. He went back and got Keith Walsh and got, so many of the other writers and staff folks that, had participated. So it really just took a pause. And now it's back and, colorful and good, great reading. And I hope folks are finding it again, online and getting it delivered to their mailbox, because it really is, the publication of all motorsports, like you guys were talking about. It covers everything under the sun. If it goes fast and chases a win lighter or checkered flag, they really look after it there.
Indeed, and of course, you are hanging out at Millbridge Speedway there, and of course with the local ties. And what are you looking at? What are you witnessing tonight? What's the race card look like?
This is Mini Outlaws. It's like a World of Outlaws car, only in a go-kart style. And Dale Earnhardt's senior's granddaughter, Carson Elledge, runs out here, and she just puts it to him. She's exciting, fun to watch, great gal. Not even 13 years old yet. But you talk about a real fast lady racer. She is that and more. You can just tell she's got the bloodlines. If you're in front of her, she'll kind of work at you and tweak you and get you out of the way. Also, Chris Dullock is here with his son. Chris, of course, is with World of Outlaws. So it's really a place that is a convergence of most of the motorsports in and around Charlotte, North Carolina. On a Wednesday night when folks are back, you got a lot of crew members, a lot of, the chassis specialists, the shop guys, things like that. They've got their kids out here, and it's just a great family atmosphere, something for folks to do midweek between all the rest of the racing that we go after.
And you get to sit there and make the call and see what's happening, so you can report on it, possibly in one of your episodes of At the Track with PRN or other outlets that you string to, right?
Absolutely. PRN's At the Track is really where, besides Pedal to the Metal, that I'm focused on. We've kind of cleared most of the docket so that we can be available on the airwaves either here on your show or with PRN. I've tried to streamline and make sure that we go in the right direction. And what a great Saturday we had this last Saturday. We're at Bowling Gray Stadium. If folks don't know it, it's a racetrack that's celebrating its 65th year of being a flat paved track around a football field in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And they put 8,000 to 10,000 fans in there every Saturday night. It's incredible.
And it is amazing when I don't know how long it's been since they had that. I believe it's on Discovery Channel.
Oh, one of those
History. I believe it's Discovery Channel. They did about 2 years of following teams around, and it's kind of that racing, kind of the salacious part of it, and see what's happening in the pits, who's mad at who, and all of that. But man, I can only imagine to 10,000 people crammed in that, on that, and around that, and look, and just the energy has got to be amazing.
That's the word for it, the energy. And, you talk about, the fighting and things like that. They called it Madhouse, but I think the guys in the Nationwide and Cup Series just must have watched some past episodes because what they did up at Richmond, that got to be pretty spiffy there.
Well, let's start there. Let's go. I guess you're discussing the issues that happened in the Nationwide Series, post Nationwide race after the victor was in victory lane, and so some issues in the pits, and some high karate chops and karate kicks, and then
some low karate
chops, then low karate chops, and then somebody got jumped in the pits. Give us the skinny, my friend.
Yeah, I guess everybody works and lives within close proximity within these teams and such, and especially in the Nationwide Series, you may have to pile in, quote, the enemy's pickup to go from the airport to a track or things like that, depending on how well funded and how much room people have. So, walking out of a racetrack, you're there just like a lot of the stick and ball teams where you come in and out of the same entrance tunnel. And things happen at football games, at basketball games, things like that. And that was kind of what this was, where people that were combatants were too close to each other, continued the issue, and did it in certainly the wrong place, wrong time. And now, they're going to be at home for a while.
And I believe the one guy that was actually, I think he had some issues with his shoulder, the dislocated, separated shoulder. He was a bystander, really, a photographer from Brazil, following around, and he was tagged to follow that weekend and get some shots and do a story, and he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, again, it's like, being at the third baseline and a foul ball gets you. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time for a lot of things. And anytime a big crowd starts to move and move with some, anger, that usually means people get pushed to the ground, and you hope that nothing bad happens to an innocent bystander, and certainly hope that the medical treatment that he'll receive will get him back, doing his job very quickly. But it's the emotions of short track racing. Those guys were racing, were beating and banging, and they ran out of patience, maybe ran out of talent in some cases, and certainly ran out of common sense to not do it. And that cost two good teams, some employees, and some long-term bump on public opinion.
Yeah.
And then it comes over onto Saturday night, and you've got a couple of past champions in Stewart and Kurt Busch going at each other, and just a number of people that certainly got their blood pressure up.
And going back to the Nationwide Series and how that crowd reacts, my son this is my son's phrase, Dylan Loyd, if he's the man, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. So that said, it did kind of snowball in, and you were talking about Kurt and Tony, and and really it was a racing deal. Tony's he's got a pretty darn short fuse this year.
Well, it's interesting you speak about Tony specifically. And, I get to plug my show again here because it's topical. I interviewed a guy today who will be on this weekend's PRN at the track that does statistical analysis like the Moneyball for NASCAR.
Right.
It's David Smith at Motorsports Analytics, and it's phenomenal. And he was dissecting who was going to win the Charlotte races, and I brought up Dale Jr. and Tony, and specifically he started discussing Tony and how things have just really gone downhill for Tony Stewart. You can hear the announcer in the background here. How things have changed for him in finishes and such, and that's got to be frustrating to Stewart. One of the comments was that this new car, this Gen 6, is kind of like teaching an old dog new tricks. And right now, Stewart's group was very focused on, I guess, Gen 5, if they called it that ever. Mm-hmm. But this new car is a big mystery, and it's frustrating everybody from, the guy that, starts to weld up parts and pieces all the way through to, the owner and driver and Tony. It's just a bad season right now for Stewart Haas.
And if you look at, and Tim, you can back me up on this, you look at Tony Stewart and what he can do. I mean, he started on midgets and sprint cars with USAC and running that in the open wheel realm. Then he jumped into the Indy cars and is an Indy champion, an IRL champion, I should say. And then he makes his way into the full-bodied cars in NASCAR. Huge amount of success. He can jump back down into a modified or a late model or a sprint car or a midget and win any given night. Now, obviously, there's some money that's getting thrown at that dirt regiment that maybe some of the other cats have, but he can run competitive and win outlaw races with the big dogs and Steve Kinzer. It just boggles my mind that a wheelman like that would get stumped on this car. It really does.
Well, I think what it is maybe the first look at a hiccup as a car owner. Because, remember I spent years at Childress and other teams and such, and the forecasting that Richard taught all of us in the management was really to look in 5-year chunks and have a 10-year kind of plan as well. And Stewart may not have been prepared in that sense, not thinking, here comes a car down the pike that we're going to have to be aggressively ahead on financially. You're going to have almost a stealth team to the side working on those cars 6, 8, 10, maybe even a year ahead of time. And maybe Stewart didn't put enough focus into that last year, and now it's not paying dividends this year on the track, and the performance is lacking. And that's really, timing and management decisions that were made, really almost 2 years ago at this point. And how much of a car owner 2 years ago was Tony Stewart? How much experience did he have? What other things? And that's part of why guys like Childress and other owners are successful, and Hendrick and everything else, because they're able to forecast ahead. And Stewart's learning. That's part of the learning lesson.
Well,
And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Tony's one of the, he's one of the few owner drivers that are out there, and Tony's one of the few owner drivers that are out there, and he don't even drive and own his own car. He also has 2 other teams he has to manage. Where you look at guys like Childress and Gibbs and Hendricks, they can sit back and basically oversee all operations because they don't have to worry about getting behind the wheel. Maybe the stress of having 3 cars out there is getting a little bit to him. You just never know in a situation like this.
Think back 2 years ago, they were trying to get Ryan Newman's team funded fully, and the pressure there, maybe you have to kind of go down into your business a little bit, and you can't have that big broad view from 40,000 or 50,000 feet up. And Stewart having to go down to really push that team forward through the sponsorship negotiations. He missed the idea that, hey, in 18 months, a new car is going to come out. We need to set aside some R&D budget, things like that. And the problems with that sponsorship 2 years ago maybe we're seeing what happens when you have to blink as a car owner. But Stewart, like Moose said, this guy's got talent. He oozes talent. He knows how to drive, and he's got good, smart people that are working for him that they'll make up the gap. They'll get this together. But right now, it's just going to be frustrating until they're able to really get it all together, get these things, catch up. I think they just had their first new cars coming out of their shop this week or the week before. So they're on the track to better things, but it's certainly going to be frustrating and a difficult year for Stewart Haas until they're able to turn the corner and do that. I also got to compliment, to shift gears to the straight liners. I don't know whether you cats saw that live broadcast from Houston, but that was a great broadcast, and I love me some Dave Reese. He has brought energy and excitement. Bob Fry was great. He knew so much, but the new guy in the tower for NHRA is turning people on. He is a really good, talented voice for that Hot Rod Association.
That was a fantastic show. I mean, as much as we all like NASCAR, you got to admit that sometimes there's an hour and a half in the middle of this race that it's causes you to fall asleep and take a little nap in the middle of the afternoon. But I tell you what,
me too. I'm in now, yeah.
But this drag race, if they would go live from start to finish, from the first round all the way to the finals, I guarantee you, jumping around inside the pit area, watching those guys be frantic and work and trying to get those cars turned around in 50 and 55 minutes, and like you said, Dave Reef was all over it. I mean, he was up and down and getting everybody fired up about the whole deal. It was definitely a good 2-hour show to watch. I mean, it was over before you knew it.
And what I like about it is in this, you can back me up, Lenny, like he was saying, there is always some sorts of drama on the track or in the pits at an NHRA race. In a NASCAR race, you get that mid donut lull in the middle of the race where they're trying to create drama, they're trying to speculate. Then a yellow flag comes out and it gets fixed. This is so incrementally small amounts of time. Then they've got to turn it right back around and get up. It's drama, and it's amazing. And you're right. I think they need to capitalize.
I love seeing that clock, seeing it have to get from the track, being able to hustle back into the pit area, saving 30, 45 seconds, increments that you just don't even think about, and being able to switch all of that in, make those dramatic motor changes to parts and pieces, trying to get it fired up, having it not fired up for one guy, and then being able to make it to the line just in time. Oh, that was great drama, great TV, and hats off to the NHRA. I hope they do that at least a couple more times this season. That's big.
Well, when they first said they were going to Houston and doing this, I was going, oh my gosh, because I've been around Houston long enough. I know how the weather is in Houston. It could be sunny 1 minute and 80, and the next minute to turn around and you have a downpour. So they lost their qualifying efforts on Saturday, but the sun was out on Sunday, and it was a fantastic show.
Guys, I love you. I'm starting to get to where this here running out here, and I'm losing the ability to hear you on a lot of this. But next Wednesday will be free, and looking forward to being back on Pedal to the Metal. It's really a great time of the year for race fans to be out at these racetracks and having a blast while it's warm enough to be here to do what we all love.
And of course, yes, Lenny, I can hear him in the background. Of course, Lynn Batycki, you want to plug the At the Track with PRN there as well?
PRN At the Track on Twitter. Please go to Twitter and follow PRN At the Track. And of course, you can go to goprn.com and follow the shows tab, find At the Track, and you'll be able to listen to back editions of PRN's At the Track. And Bruce, I can't wait to chat next Wednesday with you and Tim, and we'll be watching and following along. And business is good in the racing world. We're glad to be a part of it.
Indeed, indeed. Of course, Lenny, always a pleasure to talk to you. We catch you again next Wednesday, buddy. Thank you, man.
Looking forward to it. Good night, guys.
Take care,
Lenny.
buddy. There you go, Lynn Batycki, and he was at the track.
Yeah.
He was there. And you could tell the first one, we could tell the second one, it just got where it was just so loud he couldn't make it work. But that is indeed, and of course, you talk about some insight. I was going to ask him about, and it's something we can talk about as we go through the turnaround with Kurt Busch. He's actually taking a small underfunded team and rather impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, he's been doing a pretty decent job on it. They what they were talking about on television, and what is true is that they've got a top-notch driver. He is making everybody else on the team step up to the plate on it, and they are slowly getting around that way. It's just they're finding some of the weak links and working with them. And one thing about it, they're all together working on this. They aren't, whether they talk, they're not really firing anybody because these guys aren't getting paid a whole lot to work on that team from where it sounds. They're not a Hendrick or a Gibbs type operation.
Indeed. And of course, we will broach that as we continue to roll through here at Pedal to the Metal Wednesday. You're listening live on the air and online at WDLJ.com. on the World Wide Web. And, of course, you can check it out as well, Tim. You've got some.
Yeah, allamericanracetalk.com. We'll have the podcast up later on, probably tomorrow morning. So you can just go there. And I'll put the link all up on our WDLJ.com page, and we'll have it all linked over along with our sponsors of the show. So can't do it without all them. So anybody that you hear that we're playing here during the show are great sponsors of the program. So make sure you patronize these people.
Indeed. They allow us to make mud pies and talk racing here every week. 97.5 The Rock, WDLJ Breeze coming back. We're to talk to Kevin Gundecker from Pontoon Beach Tri-City Speedway, the Lucas Oil Late Model Series. Swinging into that bad fast track this Friday. We'll find out what's going on with him and the rest of the season with that guy. He's got some big shows.
Very big shows.
We'll catch that in a second. Around the backside, 97.5 The Rock.